Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the ChaddyTheChump channel. And wow, what a card it was in New York last night. Ring Magazine 6, headlined by Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez. And Shakur got the win, and he did it in a dominant fashion. I mean, it was an absolute one-sided affair, to say the very least. Teo won one round and the rest went to Shakur. It was a great performance, right, to win the WBO and Ring Super Lightweight World titles. And the card itself was very good. It had a lot of good fights, it had a lot of good moments. So we're going to talk about it all in this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So we'll talk about what was a masterclass from Shakur Stevenson, making his move up to the 140 pound division. Before the fight, I thought this was a 50-50 fight. You know, I thought the styles were somewhat similar, and I thought it'd be close, really close, split decision close. But in fact, it wasn't, and Shakur dominated Teofimo Lopez like not many people have ever done before. And Shakur never hurt Teo in the fight, but he just dominated every single round. The jab he used was exceptional. When Teo ever tried to get into him and tried to, you know, get inside the pocket and sort of try and land some big shots, Shakur would always be there to, you know, catch him with another blow, which would stop Teofimo Lopez from going in and really doing any damage to Shakur Stevenson, because he didn't do any damage to Shakur Stevenson. It was one-sided. It was, you know, an exceptional performance, and that's the sort of performance which 100% gets you into the top 5 pound for pound. Now, if I had to say it, putting myself on the spot right now, I'd probably say number 1 is Usyk, number 2 is it's between Shakur and Ibeh, and I know everyone's going to slander me, but like, it's so close, genuinely, and I don't think Ibeh's fought, you know, that many great opponents, whereas Shakur has fought, you know, Teo, he fought Williams Ibeh. These are both, you know, very, very good fighters, but it's very close between them two, 2 and 3. So, you know, and then the other ones, obviously, you could say Bivol, and, you know, you could say, you know, other names like that, but really that top 3 is very important as well. And Shakur definitely gets in it. In terms of who's next for Shakur Stevenson, obviously, we had that man right there who got in the ring and made himself very known. And a possible opponent, obviously, Shakur called him out. The weight difference is a bit of an issue with that. Conor Benn, obviously, you know, saying he's going to fight back down at 147. I still think that's going to be very hard when he's been fighting at 160. But say he does, there's still a 7 pound weight difference, because Shakur has just come up to 140. So can it happen? Yes. Would I love to see that fight happen? Yes, I would love to see Conor Benn and Shakur Stevenson go at it in the UK. Would be amazing, right? But I don't know, maybe we're a few fights, you know, until then, maybe, because Shakur's got to build up that weight. You can't just go straight to the weight division, even though I think Shakur easily beats Conor Benn if he goes up today. You know, that's how good I think Shakur Stevenson is, right? So that is a possibility. Of course, other ones, if we're talking about 140, and possibly, of course, the Gervonta Davis fight was talked about at 135, but, you know, now that feels very far away. I think, you know, he'd have to go back down, and Gervonta Davis would actually want to take the fight, and right now Gervonta is in a lot of mess, so I'm not sure if that will be the case. Obviously, the 140 division's good, but there isn't many massive names there, so I guess we'll have to see, but there's definitely a big future for Shakur Stevenson. We will now talk about the undercard, and let's move on to the co-main event, which was Keyshawn Davis, who defeated Jermaine Ortiz. And it was again another great performance from Keyshawn Davis, right? He won mostly every round. I think Jermaine Ortiz did, decently well in some ways to, stay in the fight and land some shots. But in the end, Davies, the amount of shots, he definitely let his hands go. And that worked very well. And in the end, it ended by a knockout in the last 10 seconds. So as much as Ortiz stayed in the fight, those body shots in the end got rid of him, and they were way too brutal, and it finished with 10 seconds to go. So Davies won by knockout, which another great win. He is again in the 140-pound division, so we could definitely see him fight some big names and hopefully, for a world title reasonably soon. And that can be very exciting. Dalton Smith is a possibility, Hitchens a possibility. A lot of guys there who he can fight. And, Shakur's in that division, but I don't think they'll fight. I think they're good friends, and I don't see any reason why Shakur probably has to fight him, to be honest. But, that division is pretty decent, and there is big fights for him. Now we'll talk about another world title victory as Bruce Carrington defeated Carlos Castro to win the WBC World Featherweight title, which was vacant. And it was a very, very good win, right? He boxed very well throughout. And the only times where I was thinking, Carrington could possibly lose this, is when he was hurt, which was in only around 2 rounds where he seemed, pretty hurt, because Castro did have the power, right? He did have power, but in the end, it was Carrington who landed a big shot and ended up knocking him out in the 9th round, and it was one of them knockouts which was kind of unsuspected, that you didn't really see coming, but it did happen, and it was a nice clean knockout, and he deserves it, Carrington. He fought well, and he definitely deserved the win, and he is now WBC Featherweight World Champion. We'll now talk about a cutting-edge performance from Jarrell Miller. Get the joke? No, it wasn't really cutting edge. It was a quite close fight against Ibeh, and the main thing that happened in this fight that everybody's talking about is the fact that Jarrell Miller's hair did come off. Well, his wig, I don't think it was his actual hair, his wig came off during the fight, and that was pretty funny, and that was probably the highlight of the whole fight, because in terms of the actual fight, he kept it close. Ibeh proved to be a much better opponent than pretty much everyone would have anticipated, and Miller will keep training, go back to the drawing board, because it wasn't the best performance, but he will certainly be back, and he'll want to be back in big fights, because he's probably not got ages left in his career, and he'll want to get big fights at heavyweight. Of course, there were rumours of him fighting Chisora. Chisora's now fighting Deontay Wilder, so that won't happen. There's a possibility he does go to Matchroom, as that is the front runner, so we'll have to see. But the most important thing is he gets that hair sorted out. That was my rundown of Ring 6, Teo versus Shakur in Madison Square Garden. Another brilliant Ring Magazine event they cannot miss. The next one is Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios for the WBC World title, which again will be a very interesting fight, and we're going to have to see what happens there. It's a decent undercard. Duarte Hitchens is on it, which is a good fight. Russell versus Hirioka, so it is a very good card as well, and Ring Magazine are on fire at the moment, so I hope they just keep it up with these brilliant cards. But anyways, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.